Well, howdy YouTube, and Happy New Year to all of you out there watching me. Certainly you have better things to do on New Year's Day than to watch me. Well, you're stuck with me now. Alright, so there it is, folks. Oh, let me roll back here. Take a look. Oh, my microphone just fell. It's on the roll-around cart. The Dell R720 has arrived, thanks to your gracious donations. So, what I want to do today is go over with you the specs on the server and show you what I've done with it so far. And I've progressed since I've made this video. I've done other things to it. We'll have other videos on it, but I decided I wanted to get a Dell R720 because I wanted to be able to utilize some video cards in my server. Now, the other thing I'm going to be doing with this Dell is, well, I don't want to give too much away. So let's just get to the video where I'm showing you the innards of the Dell and what my plans are for it. And then we'll talk a little bit after I come back from that. Yeah, YouTube, it's arrived. This is the Dell PowerEdge R720. This is the 2.5-inch drive model. And as you can see, I've got 8 available bays here that I can populate with hard drives, and then I can put another 8 bay in there as well. I mainly got this unit so I could run virtualization on it, and because it has internal PCI Express riser cards on it, I can in theory run video cards in this unit and play around with them. So I did not really get this unit to be a storage server because one thing I am lacking in at Unky Joe's Playhouse is 2.5-inch hard drives. So I'm not even going to, in fact, I've decided on this unit not to use hard drives. I'm going to use an internal SSD, which you'll see here in a minute. But this is a 1 terabyte spinning notebook drive. And these two are 146 gig IBM SAS drives that I picked up when I got my IBM servers. You can see they're System X drives. So what I've decided to do is not use internal hard drives in here, and I am going to put these in here just as fillers for now, and then I'll get some blanks to put in there. All right, so let's get inside the unit. So I've got the power disconnected. It's got dual power supplies. Now, when I got this unit, it came with no RAM. It came with the two, I think they're 2620 or 2520 processors on here, Xeon processors. So they're 2 gigahertz processors, not real powerful, but they use a low amount of power. They're not, a high TDP on those chips. So let's get it open, look inside, and I'm going to show you some of the things I've gone through on this unit already. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove this little cover over here. And let me tell you, I have already had a lot of fun with this server. I have been putting it through its paces. I'm just seeing how warm those CPUs are. And then let's go ahead and get the fans out as well, so we can have a little more room to look around in this server. I'll be honest with you, I was a little disappointed when I got this server because it was doing some squirrely stuff, and I thought maybe I had gotten a lemon, but that was not the case. It was just user error as always. Okay, so initially this unit came with these cables inside, and I will put them in here and show you what I'm talking about. So these are the 2 cables for the SAS backplane here. In fact, you can even see down here it's got the SAS backplane. The problem is that the cables were there, but no controller. Now I have an H310 controller that has been flashed into IT mode that I got from Art of Server months ago. So I had this installed in there, and it was working fine. It was running in IT mode, but something odd was happening to it. And then I had the epiphany, well, this thing's got a 310 mini controller on board, an H310. Why don't I just order the proper cable for it and then flash it with the IT firmware? and then we can, you know, go from there and use the internal backplane for internal hard drives, and then I would put Unraid on there. Well, not a good idea. I don't have 2.5-inch hard drives I can put in there, and I don't want to have to order a whole bunch. I've got 30 terabytes of storage here at Unky Joe's Playhouse. What do I need more storage for? This machine really needs to be dedicated to virtualization, to either running VMware or Hyper-V or Proxmox or XCP-ng, that kind of thing. That's what these servers, or this server, was designed for. So luckily for me, it did come with, let me pull this out. It did not come with this SSD drive, but it did come with the cables to hook up a CD-ROM drive. They were already on here. So I had the power cable and I had the serial ATA data cable, so I didn't have to worry about it. So I just threw an SSD in there, and that is what I'm going to be installing my operating system on. Now what I've decided, I took a poll on YouTube and asked y'all what should I install on the new Dell. And it was, first place was VMware, of course, but second place, strangely enough, was Windows Server 2019. So I have decided, I've already put Windows Server 2019 on here, it's running well, but I also decided I'm going to go ahead and put VMware on here as well. And then I can dual boot between them if I need to, so the best of both worlds. Now, like I say, this did not come with RAM, so what I did was I recently upgraded the RAM on my Dell R710, and I took some RAM out of their 4 gig sticks. So I had enough to populate this and get it with 32 gig of RAM. So, and the RAM is compatible, so I just took those sticks out and put them into here, and I have 32 gig of RAM. And if I need more RAM later, I'll get it. The other thing I did was I ordered this cable, and I'm going to go handheld here so I can show you what cable it is I'm talking about. On this H310 mini controller, which is right there. That's the H310. Right next to that, and let me take this riser card out here so I can show you what I'm talking about. So here's the controller. It still needs to be flash. It's not in IT mode. But right next to it is this little funky controller. It looks like a double SAS cable controller plug. And so I thought I ordered the right cable. I got it off of eBay. It came in yesterday. And as you can see, I've got it tucked in here on the side. And then one side comes up and plugs into the back of my backplane. And the other cable, of course, is too short. And if you notice something else, the connectors are turned the wrong way. So evidently this is not the correct cable to be using for this SAS backplane. It's for I assume it's for this backplane that goes here, the second backplane, which I don't have. But you know, it's kind of a moot point now, since I'm not going to be running any internal hard drives on this thing. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to disconnect this, and there is a way, I've already done it in the BIOS, to turn off that H310 mini controller, and I'm just not going to worry about it. And later, if I need it, then we'll have this flashed. I'll get Art of Server to help me flash this, and then I'll order the right cable. But for now, I'm not going to worry about it. And then it also has this onboard controller or plug for a SAS cable. I don't know where that goes to. I don't know how to configure it. I haven't figured that out yet. So worst case, I could just plug the correct SAS cable in there and then in theory use it. So I'm going to go ahead and take out this little cable here, right like that, and then I'm going to take it out over here. And you got to be careful. These cables can sometimes get locked into place. So I'll go ahead and take this out for now. I don't need it in there. So let's go ahead and remove it, and then we'll carry on with describing everything. I'm going to go back on the tripod here. So there you go. Now let's go to the rear of the unit, because we are going to replace a component in here. Now you're probably noticing this is I also ordered The seller of this unit did not specify whether it had an iDRAC Enterprise controller in there or not. It does. But I went ahead and ordered one anyway, and that controller actually plugs into one of these ports on this backplane, or on this PCI Express backplane. I don't know if you can see it to read it, but this is a 8X CPU 2 slot, an 8X CPU 2 slot, and an 8X CPU 2 slot. So all these three 8X PCI slots belong to the second CPU. And then we've got riser 2 here. I'll go ahead and pull that out. Now riser 2, you notice, has a power connector on there. And this has a 16X slot on the top, and that belongs to CPU 2, and an 8X slot on the bottom, and that belongs to CPU 1. So in theory, you could put a video card in here with a plug, a power plug. If you get the right cable, this will give you power to go to your video card if you need it. Now, this last slot in here, because there are 3 risers, so let me change the camera angle. So here's the 3rd riser. If you pull this out, then these 2 PCI Express slots, there's an 8X on the top, that belongs to CPU 1, and another 8X below that belongs to CPU 1. So you could have a 16X PCI Express card in here, a video card. It'll run at full 16X speed, and then the rest you could use at X8, which should be fine in a server. Now the other thing that this thing has that I really like is this mezzanine card. Well, that's what I call it, is a mezzanine card. And these are the 4 gigabit Ethernet ports that I have. Let me move the camera around here and you'll see what I'm talking about. So it's this 4-port gigabit Ethernet card is what this is. And as you can see, I've already got 1 port plugged in to port 1. But they make a really cool card for this. And I've gone ahead and ordered that card. So this is the card. It's the MT09V, okay? And this is, if you notice, it's got 2 gigabit ports and 2 SFP Plus ports. And look at the heat sink on that bad boy. So this is a mezzanine card made to replace this network card. And it gives you 2 standard gigabit ports and 2 whatever ports these are, SFP Plus ports that are running at 10 gig. So instead of having, that run at 10 gig. So instead of me having to have a add-on card to this, I can just put this mezzanine card in. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And then I'm going to need a screwdriver, even though these are plastic, like thumb screws. You need to start them with a screwdriver. Now this unit also has dual 750 watt power supplies. Now I initially was going to put Unraid on here, but it's kind of pointless. I've got an Unraid server already built, and it's perfectly capable. And I don't have hard drives in here, so it's kind of silly to put Unraid on here. So we're going to put, like I said, Windows Server 2019 on here, and we're going to put VMware on here and dual boot. Now, with these mezzanine cards, you need to be careful because there are sharp edges where you cut your finger. But basically, you have a clip right here. And I lift up on that and then tilt the card and pull it out. So you can see there's the gigabit card. So a couple of Broadcom chips. So we're going to take that out and we're going to replace it with this one. Now this card is longer, and you can see it has a heat shield on it. So that's the other reason I pulled out the PCI Express cards, is so I could get this in there. And it's going to slot into there. But in order to put this in, you have to kind of tilt it in, get it lined up, and then there's your 2 little buttons. You push on these 2 little blue pieces
to snap that into place. Now, if I've done everything properly, these thumb screws should then go back in. Now, I've done a BIOS update on this board, and I used the Dell ISO to do the update, and I did not have this mezzanine card in here, so this is going to have the old drivers and the old firmware on it, so I'm probably going to need to run that procedure again in order to get that card flashed to the proper firmware. Be aware that you may need to rerun your firmware update to reflash or to flash that card. So we now have the mezzanine card back in, so now we should be able to go ahead and put our riser cards back in, if we remember where they go. So this one I remember because it's got the blue dot on it, as you can see here. I'll go ahead and plug that back in. All right. And then this one goes here. Yes, it does. There we go. And then our third riser card set goes in like this. So you can put a lot of riser cards in this thing. Let's just put it that way. There's a lot of slots. You can put a lot of stuff in there. Keep in mind though, don't just think you're going to slap a standard video card in here. You're not. You're not going to be able to take your standard desktop video card and get it to work properly in here. I know I've tried. Well, I've tried and didn't succeed. It doesn't mean you won't, but it means it did not work out for me. So there you go. We've got the new mezzanine card in. I'm going to go ahead and plug this into port 3 now, because I don't have SFP Plus connections over here on my bench. Now the other thing I ordered were these power cables, and these are made to plug in. If I could show you this, get a view of where my stuff is. This is a power cable, and it's an 8-pin. The plugs on here are 8-pin. Okay, these two plugs. And most video cards are what, 6-pin, some are 8-pin, some are even only 4-pin. I mistakenly ordered this. This is an 8-pin to an 8-pin. I should have ordered an 8 to a 6 with the two that'll separate so that I could power a video card. It's of no great deal, but be aware when you order these, the more expensive cables are the ones you have to wait on from Hong Kong, have the 6 connector plus the 2 connectors that are separable. The problem with this cable is these are 8 to 8. So while it'll plug in and split it, there's no way to separate these last two from this connector that I'm aware of. Maybe it does slide up. Oh no, I'll be damned. I'll be damned, it does. So you can use this. Good thing I didn't order the other video card. I just need to learn how to split them. So this is designed to plug into one of these connectors here on the riser card, like so. And then it gives you 2 6 or 2 8 port power connectors. So we will be keeping that. It was late last night when I played with these, and I thought they would separate, but I wasn't quite sure. But now you can see for sure they do. So, and that it's made from Comeep, and I'll give you a view of the part number there. So if you want to go order one of those off of eBay, so that's good. But I will tell you from my experience, I tried both. First of all, I tried my RX 560, my MSI video card, which I thought would be a perfect candidate because it doesn't require any additional power, right? But evidently it wasn't getting enough power from the PCI slot because the Dell was throwing up errors once I started using the card. And then the Gigabyte card that I tried to put in there, This is a GTX 650, I believe. Yeah, 650. I couldn't even get this to physically fit. So, you know, it is what it is. But these aren't made for a server. But I have ordered another video card in. It'll be in next week sometime, maybe after the first of the year. And we'll revisit this then. But what I want to do now is get this server back together so I can fire it up. Now, the other thing I need to do is I need to take a USB key, and I'm going to put it, there's a place inside for a USB key right here. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that in. And I'm going to install VMware onto that key that I just put in there. So I've got this for this SSD drive for Windows 10, and then I've got that for VMware. So let me get this back together. Get the fans back in. Now, one thing I did notice is after the firmware upgrade, this thing was a lot louder than it was when I first got it. But as far as BIOS and firmware goes, man, oh man, this thing was way behind on updates. And you know, the machine's in fairly good shape. It came to me clean. I don't like that rattly. It is a little noisy. It's a little rattly. You know, like there's something loose inside.
So there you go. Yeah, I've had the unit, what, about a week and a half, 2 weeks now. I got a really good deal on it off of eBay, and the seller was quick to ship it to me. It came here in a proper box, foam. In fact, I had a lot of trouble getting the unit out of the box. Like I said during the description of the video, I didn't know whether it came with an iDRAC enterprise controller. It did, but I have an extra card just in case. And then I got a little ahead of the cart before the horse kind of thing, and bought some items for it before I was fully prepared. And I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I hate having a server with empty drive bays. You know what I mean? So I have made my peace with the fact that I'm not going to put any hard drives into this unit, spinning rust hard drives. I just don't have the 2.5-inch hard drives to put in it, and I have terabytes of storage on 3.5-inch hard drives, as you're going to see in some of my upcoming videos where I'm moving stuff around. So I'm not going to let it bother me that I don't have the right cables to hook it up, or I don't have the right controller. I'm not going to worry about flashing the onboard H310 mini controller at this point until I start accumulating some 2.5-inch drives. And frankly, those drives that I accumulate will be SSD drives. They won't be spinning rust. I'm done with spinning rust as far as hosting virtual machines go. For long-term storage, for my video, my music, that kind of stuff, for my applications files, for my archival stuff, spinning rust is fine. But SSDs have come down in price so much now, it makes more sense to get SSD drives. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is give a shout out to all my Patreon supporters, people that support me on Patreon. So I would like to do a special thank you to all my Patreon subscribers and supporters. And at the top of that list, and not to minimize the other contributions, Robert Bell really stepped up and made quite a significant contribution to. In fact, he paid for over half of the price of that Dell R720. So, Robert, I want to thank you very much for your generous support. And Robert has been a Patreon supporter since the October of 2019. So thank you, Robert. The next person is Martin Turner. Then we've got Michael Rydell. BCom has been a long-term supporter since 2017. Wow. And Michael, you've been since 2018. Gary Ricky, I want to thank you. Rolf Andres Westernick, he is a supporter as well. Joe McManus, Sasha Lopez, as always. Yokai Lover, good to see you there. Asgirson, I hope I pronounced that right. Kevin Augustino, Sakura Kinomoto, Margaret Morgan, Flintlock, and of course Morton over at my Playhouse has been a generous supporter of of me on Patreon as well. And it's kind of reciprocal. We support one another. So thank you to all those Patreon subscribers, because you made this purchase possible. Don't forget, you can donate via PayPal or Patreon, whatever your preferred method is. We're also looking into some other options for people that like to use Bitcoin and that kind of thing. So we'll let you know. It's a new year, so we'll figure out some other ways for you to donate if you're not comfortable with PayPal or Patreon. But don't forget, you can also send me a check in the mail if that's your preferred way. So there you go, YouTube. We sincerely hope you found the video entertaining and informative, and we'll have a lot of projects coming up around this Dell R720. I've already put it to work, and in the next episode I do on this Dell, you'll discover exactly what purpose I have set this to achieve for me at Unky Joe's Playhouse. So again, thanks for coming to see us, and please come back and see us again. And don't forget to have a Happy New Year. Hopefully, if you had a bad 2019, hopefully 2020 will be better for you. Chin up, it's a new year, and make the most of it. And thanks for coming to see us, and don't forget, we'll see you on the other side.